Hello and welcome to the Global Esports Cup. This is going to be your coverage on the Game Show #2 channel on Azubu. Pang5 versus, I can't for the life of me remember who the second team is. It's going to be Akmalip. Hopefully I said that correctly, but regardless, this should be a pretty entertaining game. Neither of these teams are very familiar to me. I've never seen them before, but I still have pretty high hopes for the quality of these games, and hopefully they are going to be of a pretty high quality, as they should be throughout the remainder of the Game Show Global Esports Cup. These teams now have a shot at competing for a large lump sum of money under some very cool lands across the world and across the globe. Right now we're in the C group stage #1, and with it we're going to be doing something of a round robin GSL format, rather, in two groups. We're in group #2, starting with this match, and then followed by Underminers versus G7. And, well, to start out this game, we're going to see Undying Gyrocopter Doom and Naga's Siren Band, which is fairly standard. And then the first pick, Alchemist, coming out from Pang5, a hero that's really been seeing a lot of play as of late. Alrighty. Ancient Apparition, the instant response coming out from Akmalip. The Ancient Apparition, a very good hero against the Alchemist, shuts down his sustained ability coming out from his ultimate, and something that I think Pang5 might be regretting not banning out. It's just such a great hero against the Alchemist, who relies almost exclusively on his ultimate to stay inside the fights. And still, the weaknesses of picking up this Alchemist early on in the draft are there, that the enemy team can pick up a lot of heroes with high amounts of burst damage, and even without that high amount of burst, as long as Ancient Apparition is on point, shouldn't matter too much, as the Ice Blast is going to shut down most of Alchemist's ability to stay inside those engagements. I kind of like to see Ancient Apparition and Alchemist on the same team, if I'm completely honest, if the Ancient Apparition isn't banned out, and would have worked pretty nicely here for the Akmalip side. As far as what they're going to follow up with, it's going to be a Tusk, a very nice hero to have on your team, offers a massive amount of utilities. We've seen time and time again, Tusk is always going to be able to at least assist in some way, shape, or form. Although against the Alchemist, I'm not sure if there's any direct counters. They're still going to be annoying for the Alch to move around inside these fights when there's ice shards blocking his path, sigils that are going to be very disruptive, especially until Alchemist gets large amounts of attack speed from like an Assault Cuirass or a Moon Shard, which will be later down his build, but usually right now we're seeing the Radiance and Manta style boots of travel Octarine core build, very akin to Naga Siren. And although that build is very popular and very good, I'd say might be very punishable by the enemy's side. Now we're going to see Pang5 pick themselves up in Earthshaker. It is going to leave them a little bit melee heavy, but the actual lockdown and control of these fights offered by this Shaker outweighs the weaknesses of the hero, I'd say. They still have more than enough time to pick up some scary heroes for their safe lane, and can still make that lane work out very well. I'm assuming right now that this is, in fact, a mid lane Alchemist, as it is very common right about now that we see him go into that mid lane spot. The Earthshaker is going to offer some nice AoE lockdown. After Tusk snowballs in, if he brings a couple of allies, very easily could be caught off guard by a long-range fissure from the Earthshaker. And one of the downsides of having a Tusk is once you commit that snowball, there is no turning back. If you're going deep behind enemy lines, Earthshaker is a pretty good hero to punish that and punish positioning mistakes. This, however, could also be to the detriment of Pang5 if the Earthshaker's fissures aren't on point. The Alchemist could also just run into the fact that there's way too many obstacles inside these fights they'll have to work around. Next stage ban's going to come out with Dazzle banned out by Akmalip and Ember Spirit banned by Pang5. Ember Spirit is, in general, just a really strong hero, and I think we'll probably see just more of those generally strong heroes banned out in the next couple of picks and bans. For Pang5 right now, I'd expect them to focus on banning something that would give the Alchemist a little bit of trouble in the mid lane, maybe like a Wind Ranger, or potentially a Templar Assassin, although the Templar Assassin matchup does go both ways. the Alchemist will be struggling with the amount of damage that she's pumping out, and that physical damage is going to make it very difficult for Alchemist to generally low armor hero that, although will have Assault Cuirass in his build path somewhere down the line, won't be getting it too early. Now a Shadow Fiend will be able to push that advantage similarly to the Templar Assassin, maybe even better. The Shadow Fiend has larger range, has so much poke, and will make it difficult for the Alchemist in lane to get his CS. Alchemist relies on the minus armor offered by Acid Spray in order to drop those creeps down low, and while they are with that minus armor, to get his CS reliably. But that minus armor effect will also apply when Shadow Fiend's going for those denies, and the raw damage advantage Shadow Fiend might be able to pick up in the lane is probably too much for Alchemist by himself to deal with. And Shaker, although he might be able to protect the Alchemist, make some stacks for him, make sure that the Shadow Fiend isn't able to kill him off. Killing the Shadow Fiend is also going to prove to be difficult when you have potential for a Tusk rotation in, or another support that we have yet to see coming out from the Akmalip side. Now a Razor for Pang5, presumably going to be their safe lane farmer, although there is always the off chance that Alchemist goes into the support role or Urshiker is played in the off lane. A safe lane Razor for Pang5 is a very interesting selection. Maybe they're going to switch up these lanes to give Razor the matchup against Shadow Fiend, but even that matchup I don't think is super impressive for the Razor. This is not Razor of old. His ability to dominate lanes is quite limited right now, although if this was against a Templar Assassin, that'd be absolutely awesome. The Shadow Fiend isn't shut down nearly as much by having his damage drained. He has longer range. The damage link isn't going to be lasting nearly as long on the Shadow Fiend as it would against one of the shorter range heroes like the Alchemist or TA. And Shadow Fiend can also just rely on his raises to CS. Once he gets level 7, double raise down the creep wave, and there's nothing that Razor can do to punish that. Plasma Field just isn't as good at pushing out the waves, and Shadow Fiend will always have the advantage when it comes to creep equilibrium. We'll be able to flash farm a lot faster than the Razor, even though they'll be functioning in a fairly similar role in this game as a whole. The Razor and the Shadow Fiend both tend to build into very early items to help their team in those fights with that S and Y mechanism, a very standard build on both of them. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how this is going to be played out. I think the Razor pick feels very lukewarm and frankly out of place here for Pang5. And across the board, it feels like the heroes that are being picked up by Akmalip are just a little bit more stable, a little bit better. Ogre Magi now for their team is no exception. Although he is going to suffer a little bit because he is melee against like an Earthshaker, against a Razor, against an Alchemist. These heroes are fairly good at punishing melee-heavy draft. I think the Ogre's upside outweigh those negatives. He's going to offer a large amount of early aggression. Ogre Magi, Tuskadula in the offlane is terrifying to go up against. Even if you are a safe lane Razor, the amount of poke that they have, the amount of tanky bodies that they can throw at you is crazy. The Bloodlust on the Shadow Fiend is going to help out quite a lot, and I think Ogre Magi all around is a pretty solid pick. The lockdown coming out from Dyer's team, although it's not super fast to come out, it doesn't need to be. Pang5's heroes are far from maneuverable. Razor, Alchemist are heroes that are going to be lumbering in the middle of the fight. They want to get to a point where they're tanky enough just to walk up, destroy your towers, or destroy the team fight with an early farm advantage, either by doing very well in the lane if you're the Razor, or by benefiting from a lot of stacks that will be created if you're the Alchemist. Now for Pang5, they're going to pick up a Lich. This is going to somewhat help against the presence of the Dark Lord. Patching up Alchemist's armor is a great way to keep him inside these engagements longer. That said, I'm not entirely sold on this Lich pick. It kind of feels little lukewarm. If they do find a situation where the Chain Frost is able to bounce on multiple targets after Tusk snowballs in, there is a little bit of counterplay there, but it feels like Pang5 are focusing a little too hard on these lanes, and their supports are just not active enough to be able to shut down the Shadow Fiend and stop him from farming. Earthshaker Lich, although they can definitely get kills, it relies a little bit more on the Shadow Fiend being out of position, and they're not nearly as potent as maybe like an Earthshaker Lina duo, or something along those lines, or even H-Apparition Ogre on the side of Akmalip. Last band going to come out from the Dire team as Phantom Lancer is going to be taken away from the pool. Maybe expecting this to be an offlane Alchemist. There are options now. A Klinkspan coming out from Pang. I think that that one's a little bit more understandable than the Phantom Lancer. I really don't expect that to be a Phantom Lancer or even a safe lane farmer for Pang's side, but who knows? Maybe they know something that I don't, and that's fairly likely, given the fact that I haven't seen these teams play often, if at all. Anti-Mage going to be the pickup for the Dyer's team, rounds out their lineup nicely, although they're a little bit greedy with the Shadow Fiend Anti-Mage. I think they're more than warranted in doing so. The flash farming potential coming out from raises of the Shadow Fiend Anti-Mage's naturally high farming speed, boosted by the fact that he's going to be building Battle Fury, will mean that even though the Alchemist is able to get a lot from the Grieval's Greed, I don't think it's going to be enough to punish this. Now Beastmaster to round out the lineup for the Pang side. I'm really just not feeling it. I think Pang's heroes are a little too passive and won't be able to stop the Anti-Mage Shadow Fiend from getting to a very scary state in this game. That said, the Beastmaster Roar is going to be a very crucial tool at locking down the Anti-Mage, and if they do well in these lanes and are able to surprise me just by individual skill performance, the Razor and Alchemist, if they run away with this game and just get a large amount of farm, maybe they'll be able to strike before this Anti-Mage fully comes online. The Beastmaster's Aura mixed in is going to give them a little bit more pushing power. We'll just have to see how this plays out. We'll introduce our teams on the Radiant side. Is going to be Pang5, with Max handling the Earthshaker, Vexus on the Razor, Sacri on the Lich, Bastard on the Alchemist, and My Baby Grand on the Beastmaster. We're going to have a little bit of a pause as the Dire team needs some time to wait. And, well, the Dire team is going to be Team Akmalip. MBA. I have no idea how to say your name. I'm so sorry, Anti-Mage, but he is going to be the AM this game. Vatican Cameos on the Ancient Apparition, Sasha Brow on the Shadow Fiend, Isuka Solo Bray on the Dusk, and Kaina on the Ogre Magi. I really have no idea if I said those properly, but Lich got a TP up towards top, going to get his early vision out in the offlane for the Pang5 side. And it looks like they're going to put a Lich Razor lane down. This ward that's placed out by the Lich is not going to be blocking any of the camps, and I doubt it's going to be de-warded by the Dire team since this Lich got there so quickly by investing in early TP scrolls, something that I do like to see offlaners and supports alike do, to ensure that they're able to get the vision for themselves and stop the enemy from getting the vision there too. It's also worth noting that Dire's team is very late out of the gate, and maybe they'll be able to stop Tusk from placing down his ward, but actually, no, this Tusk doesn't have a ward at all, but does start with the TP scroll. Now that's very interesting. Since they only cost 75 gold, this isn't a huge investment by the Tusk, but the ability for the Tusk to TP in and turn around an aggressive dive is definitely there. However, I'm not sure if that dive is going to happen. Pang5's heroes aren't the ones that would be going for that type of play. It could come out huge to have that early TP on the offlaner, maybe catches them off guard, and could be something that you even consider hiding, like under the tower, drop the TP before you go out to get experience, and then Pang5 will have no clue that you're going for a TP gank or something. It would be very interesting to see a play like that, but right now the name of the game is get the bounty rune for the Alk, and it looks like Bastard's going to secure himself the bounty rune up in the top lane. Beastmaster is going to secure at bottom as Pang5 get themselves an early gold advantage, and when you're dealing with that extra 500 gold, that's actually pretty huge. Bastard's going to start himself off with the bottle, Stout Shield, and Quelling Blade all ready to go, and now is going to have a much better time than the otherwise would, also getting a better block than the Shadow Fiend. You can't ask for a better start if you're the Alk. Although I said Shadow Fiend is very good against the Alchemist, that only stands if Shadow Fiend's able to get some early souls, and right now Alchemist has made sure that he's not able to get any of these CS, although right now he's going to pick up one. Shadow Fiend has yet to get level 2, so no Necromastery up and running for him. Up in the top lane, the Razor Earthshaker dual lane is going to be able to apply a good amount of pressure to the Anti-Mage, so maybe just these static lanes coming out from Pang5 are good enough in fact. The Lich right now is denied one creep in mid, and that's one of the reasons why the lane is so out of control for the Shadow Fiend. Now it's going to trade a couple blows. Right now, the Lich and Shadow Fiend are on pretty even amounts of damage, and that's something you don't get to say very often. It is also worth noting, Shadow Fiend has been pulled a ward, hasn't been able to place that down, but I suppose for now, we'll take a look at our other lanes. Across the board, it looks like Pang5 are getting a decent advantage, as they probably should, given this orientation of heroes. The Beastmaster 1v1 versus Tusk is a pretty darn good matchup for the Beastmaster. Not bad for the Tusk either, he's going to get perfect experience and might be able to get a kill on the Beastmaster, but in general, that Borslow is an absolute beast to deal with. Bastard mid lane, going to take a couple of tower shots, but the Shadow Fiend's so very low. If Alchemist had a point in his stun, maybe he could get this kill, but now a TP in from the ancient apparition. Can they turn this one around? Sasha's taking way too much damage from those creeps and is going to be feeling very sad right now. Earthshaker is very deep behind enemy lines. Max could very easily look for a snipe on this SF. He's going to bump into this stack. Is he really going to stack this for the enemy team? Nah, it's just going to chill here. Blocks it out. The Sentry Ward is going to take away that camp from the SF, but I'm really surprised that the Earthshaker doesn't make his rotation mid now. The Radiant have vision on that high ground. They probably know that nobody's been around to that area to place down the ward, and Shadow Fiend was just waiting for his salve. He does have his salve now, but if the Earthshaker made that move, maybe they're able to get a kill. Still, the economic damage done by blocking out that camp is going to be significant, stopping the Shadow Fiend from benefiting so heavily from stacks, which he is going to need to come back into this game. Right now, the Shadow Fiend is having a pretty darn poor time. Well, we're waiting as everybody is getting some sort of issues with their settings. So maybe that quick cast is messing up the Shadow Fiend, although quick cast has absolutely no effect on SF. If we take a look, all of his spells are not targetable. But up towards top lane, Razor getting a good link over onto the Ogre. 43 and counting damage, 54 by the time the link breaks, stolen. That's going to put a lot of hurt into the Ogre, but lucky enough, he is an Ogre Magi. He's very tanky, will be just fine, saves his anti-mage as he salves up in the sideline, but body block by the AM is going to go down, although they're taking tower shots. Can the anti-mage get a conversion on this? Fisher will lock him down. He will be forced to blink defensively as the Razor and company are just sitting behind this tower, as they can for now. Who has an Orb of Venom? That's an Orb of Venom Ancient Apparition. Very, very interesting. And right now they're going to use that slow to maybe catch up to this Lich. 300 movement speed is reasonable at this point in the game, but much slower than you expect a Lich to have. Ogre Magi doesn't have boots, so getting range for his Ignite might prove to be a difficulty, especially when he's body blocked by the Ancient Apparition. They're going to go around the corner. He's going to look for the neutral deny. Can he get it? The tick damage is not enough, and Lich will be killed by a neutral creep. First blood going to be drawn by the Radiant team, and with that deny, we'll be just fine. Down towards bottom lane, however, Tusk is getting pounded on by my baby Grand. He has 1 point in the axes. He's going to look for this kill. He needs to turn for a snowball. Not going to be able to do so. And Beastmaster finds himself a solo kill on his lane opponent. 2-0 start, and Pang5 are running away with this game. All of their lanes are doing so much better than I thought they would. You have a 20-5 Alchemist compared to a 7-1 Shadow Fiend, a 12-2 Razor compared to an 8-0 Anti-Mage. Although given the lane, I think that's reasonable. They need to make sure the Shadow Fiend becomes relevant. At the current pace, this Alchemist is just getting way too much farm. He already has 1,000 gold in the bank because Alchemists make gold out of nowhere, I guess. I don't know, this guy is going to be farmed if they aren't able to kill him. Maybe the hero that has to do that is the Tusk, but also the Tusk is doing pretty poorly in lane against the Beastmaster. By no means is this game over, but something needs to change pretty quickly, or else all of these lanes going the way they are is going to mean that the Dire team will find it very difficult to find a foothold. Tusk down towards bottom, gonna throw a snowball, clears out the creep wave, but constantly pushed under his tower. Tusk is still getting his farm, but that solo kill really does do a number. Looks like my baby Grand's going to rush towards the Necrobook. He's going to send himself out of Clarity 2 in lane. Maybe he'll be able to get a kill on the Tusk again with Primal Roar up and running. But to have mana for both the Axes and the Primal Roar, you need to wait for the entirety of that Clarity, so probably not going to happen. Things will slow down for now, but Radiant's Vision also keeping tabs on the AA and the Ogre. They made some sort of half-hearted rotation towards mid, but eventually we're just going to dissolve and look to make stacks. Unfortunately enough for Vatican, the Sentry Ward blocking this camp will mean that this camp is not actually stackable for him. The Shadow Fiend is going to be denied a little bit more of his farm. I think that's the second time they tried to stack while it was blocked. They will still be able to get the medium camp there, but it looks like they're privy to the fact, or maybe that was the Radiant team that was pinging it out, actually. Anti-Mage is under his tower. Anti-Mage versus Razor is a pretty poor lane unless the supports can peel him off, but this Lich is just being a general nuisance of himself, as Liches tend to be. 2 points in that sacrifice, and they still manage to push the lane. Now that's impressive. Although I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Keeping it back under their tier 1, the Anti-Mage actually couldn't approach. Alchemist is looking to steal this stack. It's only a 2-stack, but if he can get away with this, that's amazing. He's bringing in the Earthshaker and the Lich. They need to stop this now as Bastard's stealing their money. The greedy guy. Now they're going to find Sasha walled up by that Fissure, and the Shadow Fiend with a little bit of help from the neutrals is going to go down. Satyr coming in with that blast. Bastard's going to be locked down to the ground with the Fire Blast, as well as the little bit of help from the Ancient Apparition, as Vexus is locked inside these creeps, but it looks like of his own volition. He's taking a lot more damage than he otherwise would like to be. Can they free the Razor? Free Razor is going to be able to get out of there safely as they farm up the rest of these creeps. Ancient Apparition's there, another Satyr blast. This guy's pumping him out like nobody's business, but Alchemist gets most of those creeps and is now up to 2,200 gold more so. Not only is that huge for Pang5 that they get a kill, but it's also the stack stolen. That's money in the Alchemist pockets that should have been going to the Shadow Fiend. And this SF, relative to the Alchemist, is so far behind. If we take a look at the net worth chart, he's almost being doubled up, more than being doubled up. An Ancient Apparition gets popped a new one by that hasted Alchemist that goes for a drive-by, and now kind of going to turn around for a Fire Blast. I might be mispronouncing his name, sorry if I am Ogre, but Bastard just runs it out. This Alchemist is going to have a stupidly fast Relic. Vexus will be able to TP away. I believe he was, oh no, he wasn't even TPing away. Just walks all the way back to base after that kerfuffle around this stack. Never mind, I'm completely talking out of my ass, but we're 4-0 to start for Pang5. Last kill on the Ancient Apparition will further accelerate this Alchemist, and although Ancient Apparition is a great counter to this hero, only if he gets level 6, and even with that counter, Bastard might be too farmed to where that even matters. As far as the stacking situation for the Radiant side is concerned, we'll take a look. It's not all too impressive, but the Alchemist stole the enemy's stack, so why do you need to make your own when the enemies are kind enough to do that for you? They bring down Max bottom lane. He has a Fissure with Tranquil Boots is very speedy. Will wall up the Ancient Apparition. There are some broken trees. He can't get away, though. Snowball will buy him a little bit of time, but one more punch, and Beastmaster finds himself the kill. Frozen down. My Baby Grand's just not taking enough damage. Just Beastmaster is too tanky for them to deal with. Ogre as a hero really needs more than just level 2 to contribute. If we take a look at the damage that Fire Blast in particular does, it's piddly. 55 damage is nothing, and even Ignite is hardly anything to write home about. They need to get level 6 on this hero before he can start really contributing, as the early rotations just haven't worked. It's 8 minutes in, he's level 2, although we'll probably be level 3 shortly. Not a happy time. Not a happy time at all. Alchemist is going to be power farming up inside the woods, and we almost have the Relic here on Bastard. This is going to be like a 9-minute Relic, 12-minute Radiance, I want to say. Depends on if he gets skills. It might even be faster, and depends on his farming efficiency too, I suppose. But yeah, Relic is going to be flying out to him on the courier in just a bit. Yeah, stupid farm. Stupid farm. Lich has found himself level 6. Is kind of to be expected on the Lich, but the amount of experience that Pang5 are getting across the board is just leaps and bounds ahead of what the Dire are getting for their supports in particular, and also for the Beastmaster and Alchemist. Beastmaster's a hero that we don't get to see have this much space often, but whenever I've seen Beastmaster get this much room, he's terrifying. Roar! Fissure to follow up. They get an easy kill onto the Tusk. Only 2 points in the Axis, but that's all he needs. The 2 boars are terrifying. You can't go against that as any melee hero, even a Tusk, who's generally regarded as one of the stronger ones. And also the Razor's doing well. I mean, he's a Razor. He's not crushing it by any means, like Vexus compared to the farm of the Alchemist especially is being eclipsed, but he's not doing bad either. This Razor is going to be able to contribute so much more than the Anti-Mage, who's just trying to scrape together every bit of farm that he can inside the small camp. The last resort for the Anti-Mage. He's able to get a little bit here and there, but he needs this Battle Fury before he can compete against this Alchemist for farm. I'm really sad that the aggressive potential of the Dire's supports wasn't able to come to fruition. Usually when you're in a tri-lane scenario, the Ancient Apparition's Chilling Touch is amazing, but the Ogre Magi, the Anti-Mage, weren't able to capitalize on that, never really sticking on somebody. Snowball onto Bastard. The Bounty Rune is going to be stolen by the Tusk. That's nice. If he got that Bounty Rune, that would have been Radiance almost complete. I said 12-minute Radiance. Bastard, you're getting too much gold. Stop it. Don't farm. Oh, you're making me sick just looking at it. Up towards top lane. A Link going to the Shadow Fiend. He's hitting like a kitten. Vexus will look for the TP out, but there was an Ogre there. He'll cancel it. Can they get this kill? Lich Chainfrost going to bounce. Vexus will survive. Turns around. 168 damage stolen. The bounces. The Anti-Mage will fall. And a double kill for Sakri. Roar onto Sasha. The Haste Rune expires. And the Shadow Fiend will die to the creeps. But that's still fine. 9-0. Pang5 are running circles around the Dire team. The Tusk is here. What are you doing, bud? He just wants Vexus. He's snowballing forward. But to what end? He's going to connect onto the Razor, but it's going to be his own death. Frost Blast and Mana Burn from the Creep and an auto attack. Beastmaster finds himself a dominating spree, 10-0, and they're just falling apart. I like their draft, I'll be honest. I thought the Dire team would be able to pull this one through, but Pang5 are getting absolutely everything they could want. The stars are aligning. I talked about in the draft, if these lanes went well, there is always the chance that this Alchemist and Razor could run away with it, and run away with it they are. This Alchemist is going to get to a point, not now, but he might be more farmed than the entire enemy team. Like, right now he's more farmed than the Shadow Fiend and Anti-Mage put together, and also the Ogre, but Ogre has... Tango Sal. He has no boots. It's 11.5 minutes in. The poor Ogre can't afford brown boots. I'm sure we've all been in this situation in pubs where you're suffering support, but this hurts my eyes to see. He's level 3. He's not a factor. He can't do anything. He's a level 2 Ignite and a Fire Blast that pretty much only serves to cancel TPs at this point. Okay, so now that we've seen how terrible the situation is for the Dire team, I'm not even going to look at the graphs. How do they come back into this game? And I think the only way that they can is if Tusk starts picking up a couple of kills. He has phase boots, he has almost level 8, and Suka Solo Bray is still at a situation where he's doing alright. The Bannerman's going to be sat upon by the Lich. He's not going to... Oh, he actually decides to take it. He gets 74 gold for himself, but if that was the Alchemist to pick it up, that's like 400. But Alchemist has better plans in mind. He's just power farming it. He has the Radiance going. He has had that for like a minute and a half. And he's going to have 2,400 gold, probably Boots of Travel next, Manta Style, whatever he wants, really. He's just making himself really cozy in the Radiant Woods as he farms up these mud golems. 6 bodies to hit the floor and 36 gold a pop for each of those baby golems. And Alchemist is just running away with it. Roar onto the Shadow Fiend in mid. Sasha Brow is going to fall. Lich Ultimate will get a couple more bounces, and they get the lucky one back to the Ancient Apparition, back to the Ogre. Echo Slam craters the Tusk, and this Lich is getting probably some of the luckiest bounces I've seen. There was a couple creeps around there as they Frost Blast a secondary kill, and on the back lines they lose another. That's going to be 4 to hit the deck. 14-0. Who needs Alchemist to buy his next item? He is going to go for those Boots of Travel, has them in the side, but you know what? They don't need it because they're so far ahead. The Anti-Mage is being out-farmed by the Earthshaker on the enemy team, who's going to have a Blink Dagger at a reasonable time. It's not even a super fast blink, but the Lich is only about 70 gold behind. We're getting to GG territory, and it's only 13.5 minutes in. This is disgusting. Utterly disgusting. Coming out from Pang5. 2-2 tower mid going to fall. Beastmaster will get the tower destruction there as Tusk walks around the corner, spotted out by the Hawk. He's going to take an urn. Long range fissure, the plasma field, the axes, and he dies. Can't even throw out the snowball defensively. 15-0. I don't think the Dire's team, or any team for that matter, is equipped to come back from this big of a deficit. We're 13 minutes into the game. That's... 17,000 net worth lead for their team, and 12,000 the experience advantage. Alchemist will dropping low as he farms up inside the woods, but he's casually just made another 2,700 gold or something like that. He's going to use his Boots of Travel to go for the bounty rune top. Let's see how much gold he gets from the bounty, shall we? Give or take 400. Yeah, that seems fair. He's going to buy an Ultimate Orb. Why not? He's going to get that Manta Style in just a minute. Compare his farm to that of the Anti-Mage. This guy doesn't even have his Battle Fury yet. And, in fact, is miles away from having that Battle Fury. He still needs 1,400 gold till he has it. Chilling Touch from the Ancient Apparition might help his farming speed a little bit, but... when do Pang5 end this game, I think is the only question on my mind. Is there anything to wait for before they group up? I don't think so. Maybe get this Manta Style on Alk, maybe take down Roshan, but as long as they don't go in recklessly, they win this game. And that's the reason why they're playing so passively, even with such an absurd amount of advantage over the enemy team. Lich is going to fall behind the Anti-Mage. Sad story if your Sakri is no longer out farming the enemy safe lane carry, but is still neck and neck. So we'll have to see if the Shadow Fiend and Anti-Mage can keep up and make sure that they're not completely eclipsed. The good news, if you're rooting for the Dire team, if they turn around and get a kill on this Alchemist, they're going to get a disgusting amount of gold going their way. I'm not sure how they kill the Alch, especially without Ancient Apparition 6, but the first course of action should be to find Vatican his Ice Blast. And once you have the Ice Blast, and looking for the deny, not going to happen. They were spotted out, and unfortunately 59 damage. You just can't do it. Long range fissure, Plasma Field doesn't connect. That's going to be fine. But in the meantime, up on the top lane, Blinking Alchemist will kill off the Anti-Mage. I didn't even look there, but back down towards the bottom lane, they're going to bump into the Tusk over on the left-hand side, bump into the Shadow Fiend, but they're completely zoning them off of this tier 2. They can't walk past this line safely, or else the Earthshaker Fissure will just do them in. They'll throw out an Ice Shard or two as the tier 2 falls to the Beastmaster and his army of creeps. Fissure Wall off onto Saucer Brow with the Chain Frost and the Roar. They blow up the Shadow Fiend, whether that was necessary or not, it doesn't matter. Who else are they going to kill with those spells? The Anti-Mage has already fallen. That's a Blink Dagger on your Earthshaker, and just like that, they've put them back in their place. The Anti-Mage is now less farmed than the enemy Shaker. Going to Roshan with the minus armor coming out from the Acid Spray, they can do this very reliably for their team, and I don't think there's much chance, really, for them to mount a defense. They still have no 6 on the Ancient Apparition. They still have no 6 on the Ogre. This is the most under-leveled Ogre I think I've seen. He's 4 at almost 17 minutes into the game, and unless he walks up a little bit further, he'll stay 4 for a while longer. One creep will die. He's found himself level 5. But, yeah, this Ogre, I think you just go for the point in Bloodlust and hope for the best. Second life is now on the Razor, as it looks like Razor's gonna go for a hand of minus, why not? Oh, I missed a kill on the Ancient Apparition. Sorry about that, guys. You didn't really need much more than just a fissure. No Ecoslam was spent. Mid lane, they're gonna start a link onto Sasha. With the slow down, the Razor's link is pretty much going to be lethal. They'll throw him into the ball. That is going to break the chain, and now they're going to go forward. Ecoslam, however, Fissure catches them out, and that's going to be a 2 for Tusk trying to save the Shadow Fiend's life is going to mean that they are going to go down 20-0. At this point, Dire's plan should not be to win this game, but instead just to get a kill. That's all you need. One kill going your way. I don't care who it's on, but it looks sad to see a 0 kill score in any game of Dota, let alone a game and a tournament with such prestige. Oh, top lane. The Alchemist is going to kill himself in Anti-Mage again. GG called out. There's absolutely nothing they can do. This is a sub-18-minute victory, and they're taking high ground. I mean, I don't think there's a way that they come back to this. Disgusting performance coming up from Pang5 as they wipe the floor with the enemy team. There's not much more to say. This game speaks for itself. We're going to have more action coming your way soon with Underminer versus G7, and that promises to be a much more even match. Well, thanks for tuning in here onto the Game Show, Azubu channel number 2, GameShow _D2EN_2. I've been GrandSV. You can find me at Twitter at GrandSV if you like the casting, but well, just have to wait and see how the rest of the games go down. The only death on the Radiant side was Lich's deny to neutrals very early on to the game. We'll be back. And, well, I'll just let that sink in. 920 GPM this early onto the game. See you later, folks. We have more than enough Dota coming in from the C region and the European region coming up sooner rather than later.